Okay, get this. A top general demands $1 billion and a bride from another country. I know, it sounds like the plot of a crazy movie, right? Well, it's not. It's a very real, very bizarre diplomatic feud happening right now between Uganda and Turkey.
So, what on earth did he actually say? Let's just dive right into the demands that have left diplomats around the world scratching their heads. All right, first up, this one's a real jaw-dropper. The Army Chief of Uganda, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, went on social media and publicly announced that he wants a wife from Turkey. And, not just any wife. He specifically demanded the most beautiful woman in the entire country. Seriously. And as if that wasn't wild enough, he didn't stop there. Oh no, he followed it up with a price tag, a cool 1 billion US dollars. Let that sink in. And this wasn't some kind of joke. This was part of a whole series of increasingly aggressive posts demanding money from Turkey. So, yeah, this begs the obvious question, right? Who is this guy, and is he for real? To even begin to understand what's going on, we have to take a closer look at the man behind these absolutely wild tweets. So let's introduce the man at the center of this whole thing, who, let's just say, has a bit of a history of making headlines for, well, all the wrong reasons. Okay, so this is General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. And he's not just any general. Here's the kicker. He's the son of Uganda's long-reigning president, Yoweri Museveni, who's been in power for 4 decades. That family connection, it makes him an incredibly powerful and frankly, pretty much untouchable figure in Uganda. And believe me, this whole thing with Turkey, it is not a one-off, not by a long shot. Just a little while ago, he made a similarly bizarre offer for the hand of Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. His proposed dowry, 100 cows. Yep, 100 cows. And when Italy, understandably just ignored this, did he let it go? Nope. He escalated things dramatically. He actually tweeted that if his offer was rejected, he'd have to capture Rome. So you're starting to see a pattern here, right? This is erotic, sure, but it has very real, very serious diplomatic consequences. And we're not just talking about some random guy tweeting nonsense. The backlash from this was so severe that his dad, the president of Uganda, had to personally step in and issue a formal apology to the entire Italian government. It's becoming a familiar routine. The son causes an international incident, and the father has to come in and clean up the mess. Okay, so to really get why all this is happening, we need to zoom out a little and get some context. Uganda's political history has been, well, anything but stable. And that history is key to understanding the powerful authoritarian system they have today. I mean, look at this. Uganda's been through multiple republics, military dictatorships, most famously, of course, the brutal rule of Idi Amin. All of this chaos and instability is exactly what allowed the current president, Museveni, to hold on to power for 40 straight years. He's basically created a dynasty where his son feels like he can do or say anything without consequences. But here's the twist. Believe it or not, the bride and the $1 billion, they aren't the real story. All these wild tweets, they might just be a smokescreen for something much, much bigger. A serious geopolitical fight that's brewing in the Horn of Africa. So that brings us back to the big question. Why Turkey? Why them? Well, the answer has nothing to do with brides or cows. It's all about money, power, and influence in a totally different country, Somalia. That's right. The real fight here is over Somalia. It is a hugely strategic nation, and both Uganda and Turkey are major players there. The problem is, they're playing very different games, and that's where all this tension is coming from. So let's break this down. It's pretty simple, actually. Uganda provides the muscle. We're talking boots on the ground. Their troops are on the front lines, fighting the terrorist group al-Shabaab, doing the dangerous security work. Meanwhile, Turkey, they're getting the economic prizes. They're swooping in and getting these huge, lucrative deals for things like offshore oil drilling and massive infrastructure projects. And right there, that is the core of this whole feud. Uganda is absolutely furious. They feel like they're doing all the dangerous, dirty work, putting their soldiers' lives on the line, while Turkey just waltzes in and collects all the profits. So when you look at it that way, the general's demand for $1 billion suddenly starts to look a lot less like random madness and a lot more like a geopolitical shakedown. So you might be thinking, Okay, this is a weird story, but why should I care? Well, this isn't just some regional spat. The outcome of this bizarre feud could have huge implications that go way beyond East Africa. This is really about the future of a critical global region.
So what's the ultimate prize? It's strategic control over the Indian Ocean, one of the most important shipping routes in the entire world. Turkey is pushing hard to expand its military and economic power there, and that is making other big players, like India, really nervous. Think about it. If Turkey builds a big military base in Somalia, it could set off a chain reaction, forcing other countries to beef up their own military presence in response. It's a classic power struggle. Which brings us to a really fascinating theory. Some analysts think this isn't just madness at all. They think it could be a very clever, calculated strategy known as madman diplomacy. Here's how it works. The son, the general, plays the part of the crazy, unpredictable guy making all these outrageous demands. This then allows his father, the president, to swoop in, play the reasonable statesman, and negotiate a deal where they still get a lot of what they wanted in the first place. It's kind of a geopolitical good cop, bad cop. And so that leaves us with the million-dollar, or I guess billion-dollar question. Is this all just some brilliant, carefully orchestrated diplomatic play, a bizarre but maybe effective strategy to get a bigger piece of the pie? Or are we just watching the unhinged, impulsive tweets of a powerful man who knows he can get away with it? The answer, whatever it is,